One of the universal things about Americans in particular is that they don't deal with their emotions very well. They're not taught. American homes are what we call no talk, no feel homes, and we just don't learn how to know what we're feeling and how to process it. As a result, so many Americans deal with depression, anxiety, they're always angry, couples are always fighting over stupid stuff, people are always getting their feelings hurt, or we move into addictions or other things because those emotions have nowhere to go. In the corporate world, we end up disliking people, gossiping, backbiting because of stupid stuff, and most of it is just because people don't know what to do with their feelings. In this piece, I hope to help you understand what happens with our feelings when we feel them, what we do with them, and then how they affect us in our everyday life. One of the things I find really interesting is that humans are like icebergs. And what I mean by that is if you know anything about an iceberg, you know that only 5 to 10% of it is actually above the surface. The other 90 to 95% is below the water, as the Titanic learned. So we are like that, which means that we're only about 5 to 10% aware of what we feel, of what we think, of what impression, what energy we're giving off to other people, how they see us, how they perceive us, what our attitudes are, what our body language is, all of that makes us our whole being up. We're only about 5 to 10% aware of that at any given time. Now we think 60,000 or more thoughts a day, and we are only aware of about 5 to 10% of that. That's a little scary. But there's good news behind that as well. In this next segment, I'm going to talk about why that matters in the realm of our emotions and our thoughts. I want to talk for a minute about quantum physics. Now, I didn't do really well in physics in high school, and I was pretty smart, so I'm going to make this as user-friendly as possible so that you don't have to be a brilliant scientist to understand this. But as everybody knows, we're made up of atoms, and atoms are just pure energy. So the truth is, at its fundamental core, everything in the world is made up completely of energy. Well, as you know about sound and light, energy has a wavelength, it has a frequency, and it's measurable. So believe it or not, you give off a wavelength and an energy or a frequency, and it is measurable. Now, why does that matter in relationship to emotions and thoughts? Well, I want you to think for a minute about anger. Think about how much energy is behind anger. When you're angry, you feel that energy. So you know that anger is energetic, as all the emotions are, but pretty much everybody can relate to this idea of anger being energetic, right? So if all of the emotions that we feel are energy, and we're just going to call them balls of energy. So they're like balls. And what happens is that when we feel that emotion, it's like a ball of energy, and we're energetic beings. And if we don't deal with that emotion at the time we feel it, we call it process it, or we're able to release it, we can't talk about it, we don't get comforted, then that ball of negative energy somehow gets trapped inside of us. It's interesting in this concept of the iceberg of our conscious mind and our subconscious mind to understand how our emotions work. I've set up this model to help give you a visual to understand what happens in the emotional realm. So these balls are all emotions. We talked about emotions being balls of negative energy, negative emotions in particular. And so each one of these balls is going to represent a negative emotion. So let's say purple is abandonment. So mom and dad divorce, and you're 3 years old, and you have this feeling, dad leaves and he's not there as much, and you have this feeling of being left. And we call that abandonment. So this feeling comes into your consciousness, and you have no words for it. You have no one to talk to about it. You don't know what to do with it. And it's a very strong negative feeling. So what we tend to do is find a place to put that, because we don't have anywhere to get rid of it. So it goes into our subconscious and it gets trapped or stored. And so abandonment goes in there. And so mom gets married again. And now we have stepdad. And suddenly it's not just me and mom anymore. She's got someone else vying for my attention. And so here we go again, another feeling of abandonment. And what do I do with that? This is my stepdad, and I don't have a right to feel left out or missed. Mom's happy. I shouldn't be sad that mom's now happy and I have this new father. But nonetheless, mom's not quite as attentive to me. And so now I have another feeling of abandonment I don't know what to do with, and it goes into my subconscious. And then let's say mom and stepdad have a new baby. And now he's happy about this new baby. And they're both excited, and I got a little bit less attention. And another feeling of abandonment comes into my conscious mind, but I don't have a right to really feel that or talk about it, so it goes into the subconscious. And the other thing I experience in this same event is that stepdad is so excited about this new baby and not so excited about me because I'm not his. And so I'm also feeling this rejection. I'm not as important as this new baby. So I'm not only feeling rejection, but I also may be feeling not good enough, a little bit unworthy. And again, how can I hate this new baby? That would be awful of me to hate my little brother or sister. And so I really don't have a place to deal with this emotion, and no one's letting me talk about it. So I'm going to put it in my subconscious. So then I get to be about 10 or 11, and as a female, you females out there know that girl drama starts about 4th or 5th grade. And all the jealousy and the hurt feelings and the gossip and the backbiting, it all starts about then, unfortunately. And so we experience on a frequent, maybe even daily basis, these new rules in school related to popularity. So I have my best friend, and some new girl comes along and she steals my best friend from me. So now I'm feeling rejected, maybe abandoned too, and I may also be feeling a little betrayed. But I can't cry. I can't say, oh, that's not fair. You went and played with her instead of me, because that's not cool. So I'm taking, again, that betrayal and that rejection. It's going into my subconscious. And now you're a little bit older and you are dating. You have your first boyfriend or girlfriend and things are great. And then you find out they like somebody else more and they break up with you or they cheat on you. And so again, we've got this feeling of betrayal. And we don't know what to do with that. So it goes into our subconscious. We may cry about it with our girlfriend, but it's a really strong feeling and we still want to stuff it away. We don't want to feel that feeling. And again, we're also feeling not quite good enough. So that feeling is going to go into our subconscious. We're trying to talk ourselves up. But bottom line is, we don't feel like we are pretty enough, smart enough, handsome enough, because they chose somebody else. We don't feel chosen. So that happens a few times, and we also feel rejected. And so life goes on, and you have a crush on the hot guy or girl, and they don't know you exist. So let's add a little more rejection and a little more not good enough. And I'm going to even add some more colors to rejection. And rejection's a really common emotion in the peer world especially. And through middle and high school, these are really strong common occurrences. So a few times we like somebody, they don't like us back, or we're dating somebody and they break up with us. So we've got some accumulation of rejection, and we've got some accumulation of not good enough. And because we can't be emotional in school, because then we would be totally ostracized and humiliated. We have to keep all those emotions inside. So they go from our consciousness to our subconscious, just like the iceberg. And so more and more of this 90% of what we're not aware of and don't know is filling up with balls of negative energy. And what do you think is happening to that energy? It's there, it's trapped, and it has a frequency, so it vibrates, it's energy. So fast forward a number of years, we may even have a decent marriage, we may be divorced, we may have experienced more betrayal and rejection even past that. We're sitting in the office one day, and the hot guy or hot girl that everybody thinks is so handsome or so pretty walks by, and we've got this little crush on them, and nobody knows about it. And every time they walk by, we kind of get excited, our heart flutters a little bit. And this one day they walk by, and they kind of look over at us and give us a dirty look. And we are crushed. And what's really going on is, in our subconscious, these trapped emotions that we've never dealt with are vibrating. The rejection, the unworthiness, they're vibrating. They're making noise, they're shouting in our head. And what's happened over the years of these trapped emotions building up is we've created beliefs. Beliefs about our value or our worth, beliefs about same sex or opposite sex, trust issues with same sex or opposite sex because of these beliefs. So this one little incident, now what was really going on was the person walking by was on their Bluetooth talking to mom, and mom was criticizing or parenting them for something, and they were mad and they gave a dirty look, and it had nothing to do with us. But because that event reminded us in our subconscious of all of these things that had occurred where we had trapped these emotions, those emotions got triggered and vibrated. So in this moment, we're feeling not good enough, we're feeling rejected, and this is somebody we don't even really know, we have no relationship with, but it's reminding us of that. That example and this metaphor explains what occurs every day in our world as humans, in our human experience. It is why people move to addictions, because they have to medicate all of these vibrating things. They want to calm them down. It's why we have anxiety. It's why we have depression, because we don't know how we feel, because we've stuffed all of this into our subconscious. It's why we're always angry. It's why we always feel like we're getting our feelings hurt over things we know are stupid and we don't know why. It's why couples are always fighting over nitpicky little stuff, or men are accusing their wives of nagging. It is the root of every negative interaction that we have as humans with each other. It's particularly predominant in the US because as a culture, we do not value emotions, and our fast-paced, technologically driven society does not give children a place to feel or express their feelings, and then once not learning that, they do not know how to teach their children or give them a place to feel or express their feelings. So I hope this explains or helps you understand, if you're struggling with depression, anxiety, or obsessive thoughts, how that is developed over the course of our lifetime, even in relatively normal life experiences. So let's recap. Remember the iceberg. We are only aware of about 5 to 10% of what's going on. You can manage that 5 to 10% because it's in your conscious mind. You can learn how to process those, find someone to talk to, actually feel those feelings that you know are there. The issue that becomes difficult is, how do we access that other 90-95% that's below the surface? And that is really a good question. There are a number of ways. Most of them require that you access some help. It's very difficult for us to do this all by ourselves, especially in the early stages. Eventually we can. Things like support groups, therapists, just people to talk to who know how to listen And first and foremost is really accepting this idea that I explained in this piece, that when something happens, we can't just put that away and think it never affects us again. It's there and it affects us every day. It's just in our subconscious. This is the bulk of the work I do in my private practice, and really what most therapists are focused on is getting to that 90-95% that's under the surface. So I hope that helps and gives you some ideas of the next steps to take for your emotional wellness.